kingdom, especially as a young man in today's society. And if you're watching this on YouTube, once again, you'll see the graphics that I have up here are of black nobility in Europe. And I wanted to address that because I know I'm going to have people in the comment section and who watch this later on and ask us what were those pictures we had up there. And to answer those questions, that's what it is. These are pictures of black nobility from Europe. And to answer your second question, yes, there were black Europeans. Actually, Europe was pretty much populated by so-called black people up until about the late 1700s. The population started to diminish and decrease at around right after the Black Plague, and after that, during the time of the Spanish Inquisition, is also when black nobility and black Europeans so-called black Europeans started to transition out of Europe. But Europe was ran by the black nobility. And we can discuss that in another episode because that's not the focus of this show. But I wanted to address that before we got started because I knew we'd have those questions. This segment, guys, what we're discussing is the importance of establishing your own kingdom as a young man here in America. And the backdrop of this segment truly is based off of a discussion I had with a fellow professional basketball player the other day, and he was discussing some what we would perceive as issues that he was having with his girlfriend and his parents and so forth and so on. Not to put his information out there, but the stuff that he was telling me was stuff I had heard before in terms of him feeling like, him and his girlfriend don't have their own space, and him and his mom have quarrels and a lot of discussions about his girlfriend, and he feels like he gets into a lot of arguments with his parents as of late. And I told him that the reason he's having these issues is because he doesn't have his own kingdom. And he asked me, what does that mean? And I told him that you don't have your own space, you don't have your own dwelling, you don't have your own kingdom. You don't have a place to call yours. And when I say that, I don't mean that you have to go out and buy an apartment or get a house right now, because he's also a professional basketball player who's only home in America 3-4 months out the year. The rest of the time he's spent overseas. So it's not financially viable for him to get an apartment or get a house with a lease that he's only going to stay in 3-4 months. However, he does have a girlfriend, and him and his girlfriend often spend a lot of time together. But what I was explaining to him is that when you have your own kingdom, those issues and those discussions, those arguments that you have with your parents frequently now are dissipated when you move out and you have your own kingdom, someplace to call your own. However, because those situations, those arguments that you're having with your parents are really stemming from your girlfriend, or they're stemming from your girlfriend, but they're really stemming from you being in the house. As men, being on our path, and we talked about this in our solitude video, you can check it out. When we're on our path to being who we want to be in this life and embracing our passions and our purpose and our gifts, and allowing the Most High to guide us where we need to be. That path is lonely. That path is long. That path is difficult at times. And whenever you're on a difficult path, the more baggage you have, the more difficult it is to get across it. And you can perceive baggage as however you want to perceive it. But baggage is baggage. And the more baggage you have, the harder it is to get along that path. So in this life, we have to make things easier for ourselves. As a young man, from mid-20s to mid-30s, you're on that path of getting to where you need to be in life and really establishing yourself in your career and in your purpose. It is so difficult to do that while having a girlfriend, while having a child, while having these other responsibilities. And I'm speaking from this as a professional basketball player, but you could be in the corporate environment. You could be in the military. You could be a photographer. You could be an artist. You could be a teacher. It doesn't matter the capacity of work that you're in. It's all the same. It is difficult to establish yourself and to establish your kingdom with the more baggage that you have. And what happens is having a girlfriend and having, like I said, even having a kid, having these extra dynamics that, these variables into your life, it makes it difficult to get to the pinnacle of your purpose, of your path. And that's why we truly need to limit the amount of variables that can affect or impact our path to success and our path to discovering our purpose. And and obviously when I say that, it's not an end all be all. It's not an absolute. There is nuance. There is gray area. There's room for gray area in all of this. But as a general concept, if you are truly invested in yourself and you're trying to get to where you want to go in life, you have to understand that that path is going to be lonely, and you really have to go about it by yourself. And something we've all been taught as young men. Well, my dad taught me this, or told me this, that as a man, you really shouldn't start to think about marriage until you're 35 years old, because that's not until you truly start to understand life, or start to get an understanding of life. And when you establish your own kingdom, you get your own space, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn what you're willing to tolerate, what you're not willing to tolerate, what you truly want out of life, what you want out of a partner. Too many young men, too many young black men, so-called black men, go straight from their living in their parents' space to living with their girlfriend. And there's no intermediary period to where they're by themselves and discovering who they are as an individual. And that could be detrimental to the growth of a young man. And so it's truly important to have your own space and to have your own kingdom. And until you have your own space, until you have your own kingdom, you really shouldn't be investing time into a girlfriend or anything like that. You really shouldn't be looking at taking any woman seriously until you have your own space, or truly until you're in until you're truly grounded in your career and you've established a foundation. Because then when it comes down to, you start to, invest time into your partner or your girlfriend, whatever it may be, and you've invested 2 or 3 years, and you realize that, okay, really isn't the person that I want to marry. And now you've quote unquote wasted 2 or 3 years. And that's time you can't get back. And once again, that's time that can be spent investing into yourself and getting into your career and figuring out who you are and where you want to be. Now, once again, it's not absolute. There's gray area. Some people are blessed to find their spouse and their partner, their wife, to find that at a young age. Some people are blessed like that, but that's not the norm. Those are anomalies. And, we deal with general truths over here. There's anecdotal evidence, right? But as a general truth, most people aren't in that scenario. They don't fit that mold. So as a young man, we have to be able and willing to establish our own kingdom. And we need to spend at some portion of our life as young men living on our own. Whether that's here in America, whether that's here in overseas. And I say that because as a professional basketball player, most of my time out the year is spent overseas, living by myself. Pretty much 9 months out the year, I'm out the country. But in some form of capacity, as a young man, you need to spend an extended amount of time living by yourself to understand what you want, and like I said, what you're willing to tolerate. And the more variables you have as you're going about this life and at this stage of your life and trying to figure out who you are and what you want, the more variables you have, the harder it becomes. So life is already difficult as it is. Don't make it harder on yourself. Cut out those variables and truly lock in on your goals and your craft. And I promise you, the Most High will reward you later on. We talk about delayed gratification all the time. That's another form of it right there. Put your focus, put your purpose, put your energy into the gifts that the Most High has given you. Not into, chasing women or chasing money, quote unquote. Chase your purpose. And everything else will, be given unto you. We talk, it says in scripture, Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of the Most High, and all these things will be given unto you. The same form and manner. Chase your path, chase your purpose, invest that time into the gifts that the Most High has given you, and everything else is going to fall into place. Establish your own kingdom before you look into investing into a relationship. Not only does it save you time, but it also saves you money as well. But with that being said, guys, that's it for our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful show. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all our latest content. If you haven't already, be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, and typing in Started Body Show. That way you can get access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And we'll be back again same time tomorrow, guys, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and peace.